All right, folks. So this is really exciting. We talked about Hubble, 32-year-old satellite, again, same age as I am, and it's about to get a boost in its life to about 15 to 20 years, which is amazing. And we're going to talk about this first from this ARS Technica article from Eric Berger. Eric Berger does great work, so if you are not following Eric Berger, whether you follow him through ARS technical articles in his writing or on Twitter, he's a great follow for those who are looking to follow more space people online. So he says here, NASA announced Thursday that it plans to study the possibility of using SpaceX's Crew Dragon vehicle to boost the aging space telescope Hubble into a higher orbit. The federal agency has signed a Space Act agreement with SpaceX to conduct a 6-month study to determine the practicability of Dragon docking with a 32-year-old telescope and boosting it into a higher orbit. The study is not exclusive, meaning that other companies can propose similar concepts with alternative rockets and spacecraft. And the agreement comes after SpaceX and the Polaris program, a series of private missions self-funded by billionaire Jared Isaacman, approached NASA about potential servicing missions, including the Hubble Space Telescope. Isaacman is the first private citizen to command an orbital spaceflight when he led the crew of 4 on SpaceX's Dragon in 2021 on the Inspiration 4 mission. An amazing mission. We have plenty of coverage of that, including even the live launch. Amazing stuff. Even I believe the landing as well. That was with my brother. The launch with the lovely Sarah. And the Inspiration 4 was amazing. First private, all private mission to space and in Earth orbit is a truly, truly amazing mission. Went even higher in orbit than the International Space Station is today. But with Polaris, they're seeking to push the boundaries of private space exploration outward. The first Polaris mission is scheduled for March 2023 on Dragon and will fly to an altitude of 1,400 kilometers while also conducting the first private spacewalks. So other than that, all being amazing information and an amazing mission that they're about to do, there's some really interesting stats as to like why some of those values were picked. So the Polaris Dawn mission, which we said will plan to reach 1,400 kilometers for a spacewalk. This 1,400 kilometers is really important because this would make it the highest altitude for a crewed non-lunar Earth mission in history. So Gemini 11, with crew Charles Conrad Jr. and Richard F. Gordon Jr., they fired their Agena target vehicle rocket engine on September 14th, 1966 at 40 hours and 30 minutes after liftoff. They achieved a record apogee altitude of 739.2 nautical miles, or 1,369 kilometers. So the 1,400 kilometer spacewalk would push the boundary of the actual record that exists today. And for reference, the Inspiration 4 flight, which was pushing the bounds at the time of what had been done recently, that reached an altitude of 585 kilometers. So Jared, having been on a mission at 585, would now be almost tripling that with this Polaris Dawn mission 1. And the highest achieved, so that 585 kilometers was the highest one that had been achieved since 1999 when STS-103 reached that orbit, and the Inspiration 4 mission was the 5th overall human spaceflight record. And then, again, the International Space Station sits at 408 kilometers at its orbit, about 254 miles. Now, why would you boost the orbit of Hubble? Well, if we go here, the principal goal is to boost Hubble's altitude from its current level of 535 kilometers to 600 kilometers, the same altitude it was at when it was first launched in 1990. The 5th and final servicing mission was in 2009 when we had the space shuttle. Hubble has been slowly losing altitude, and we've lost the ability to actually go back up and do that since the space shuttle was retired. So we're talking over 10 years before we've been able to do anything, and we're at the point where the degradation for Hubble will get worse and worse and accelerate as the telescope gets lower and lower. So they're actually trying to do this mission, and potentially, I remember hearing they talk very little about the cost. And well, let's read this article here from Eric. It said none of the officials on Thursday's teleconference. This article was written on September 29th, 2022. None of the officials on Thursday's teleconference spoke specifically about costs. No funds will change hands for the study, but there is a viable path forward for a Crew Dragon mission to dock with Hubble and boost the instrument. That will have to be worked out, who's going to pay what and all that stuff. But it looks like Jared is, he's already working with SpaceX to help fund these Polaris Dawn missions. This boosting Hubble 15 to 20 years, this is something that was really thought about and shared by a lot of the space nerds that are out there who have the science and the physics to think about this, and a lot of people have been talking about some kind of a servicing mission for Hubble for a while. And it's been interesting seeing those ideas come back up as this Polaris Dawn mission is being planned. So it's a really cool combination of private meeting public, so NASA being the public side of things, Jared Isaacman and SpaceX. So SpaceX being a private space company who is revolutionizing what we're able to do in the space industry, because there is a rocket and a crew-rated vehicle that can actually replace our ability to send humans into orbit. And it's really cool to see an individual like Jared Isaacman affecting so much of the progress. And I'll leave this here, but Eric goes into a little bit here about the long arc of history and how much private entrepreneurs, people with money, private industry, and funding has really pushed the bounds of space in exploration terms for a very, very long time. So there is a long history of this, and we're seeing this happen and unfold in front of us. It's a really exciting time, and I want you to get caught up on it now so that when this comes back up at the beginning of next year, you'll be ready to go to enjoy as much as you can the moment when it's happening live for us. So again, in March of 2023, they're going to be attempting that first Polaris Dawn mission. We've got this picture here, so the crew of Polaris Dawn, Scott Poteet, Jared Isaacman, Sarah Gillis, and Anna Manon, and those four will be launching very, very soon on a Dragon to do a spacewalk at the most distant altitude for a crewed, non-lunar Earth mission, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that.